Welcome to today's episode, where we'll delve into a real-world toxicology case involving wild mushrooms and a tragic poisoning that left 3 people dead and another fighting for their life. In this video, we'll explore the story of Erin Patterson, an Australian woman accused of poisoning her family members with toxic mushrooms, and how forensic toxicology played a crucial role in uncovering the truth. In July 2023, a quiet rural community in Victoria, Australia, became the centre of a chilling toxicology case. Erin Patterson, a 50-year-old mother of 2, invited her in-laws and other guests over for a seemingly innocent meal. What followed would be a nightmare, a meal that resulted in the deaths of her guests and left one man fighting for his life in a hospital. The meal, beef Wellington, a dish that, according to prosecutors, unknowingly contained death cap mushrooms, one of the most poisonous fungi in the world. Erin Patterson, however, has pleaded not guilty to the charges, claiming the deaths were an unfortunate accident. So, what makes death cap mushrooms so dangerous? And how could they have been mixed into a meal without anyone noticing? To understand this, we need to dive into forensic toxicology, the science of detecting and understanding poisons in the body. Death cap mushrooms, scientifically known as Amanita phalloides, are infamous for their deadly toxicity. These mushrooms contain a potent toxin called amatoxin, which attacks the liver and kidneys, causing organ failure. When consumed, amatoxins bind to RNA polymerase, the enzyme responsible for making RNA and essential proteins. This effectively shuts down the liver and kidney cells, leading to acute liver failure, kidney damage, and, if untreated, death. Interestingly, symptoms of poisoning from these mushrooms don't appear immediately. In fact, they can take 6 to 12 hours to develop. Early symptoms might include nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, making it difficult to diagnose right away. By the time doctors realize what's happening, it may be too late. After the victims fell ill, Erin Patterson's guests were rushed to the hospital. Tragically, 3 of them passed away. Heather Wilkinson, the surviving guest, was placed in a medically induced coma for weeks before he eventually recovered. Authorities quickly suspected foul play, and the investigation into the meal began. But how could something as simple as a family meal lead to such a tragedy? It didn't take long for the investigators to uncover critical evidence, photos on Patterson's phone showing mushrooms being weighed. The prosecution argues that these images depict Erin Patterson calculating the lethal dose of the wild mushrooms she had foraged just days before the lunch. In her defense, Patterson admitted she had likely taken the photos, but insisted that the mushrooms in them were not death caps. She claimed she didn't intentionally harm anyone, and that the deaths were a tragic accident. However, experts testified that the mushrooms in the photos matched the appearance of death caps. This is where forensic toxicology becomes crucial. In a case like this, toxicologists analyze bodily fluids, tissues, and food to determine what substances were present and whether they caused the deaths. Toxicologists examine everything from blood to liver samples to detect specific toxins, such as amatoxins, which are not commonly found in standard blood tests. They can also test the leftover food from the meal to identify traces of toxins like amatoxins. We would collect blood, urine, and tissue samples from the victims. Once we identify the toxin, we measure its concentration to determine whether the dose was lethal. With death cap mushrooms, we'd focus on the presence of amatoxins in the liver or urine. One of the most significant pieces of evidence presented during the trial was a food dehydrator that Patterson had allegedly used to dry wild mushrooms. The prosecution claims Patterson disposed of the dehydrator immediately after the poisoning incident. CCTV footage captured her disposing of the appliance at a local dump, a move prosecutors believe was an attempt to destroy evidence. Erin Patterson denied intentionally poisoning her guests. She explained that her actions were driven by fear and panic following the tragic deaths. Despite her defense, the evidence, such as the photos of the mushrooms, the discarded dehydrator, and the testimonies of expert witnesses, paint a troubling picture of a premeditated crime. Autopsy reports confirmed the presence of amatoxins in the victim's systems. The toxicology reports and forensic evidence pointed to death cap mushrooms as the cause of death, leaving no doubt about the mushrooms' role in this tragedy. The case also raises questions about the psychological and legal implications of poisoning. Did Erin Patterson intend to kill her guests, or was this a series of tragic mistakes? Was the poisoning intentional, or was it an accident involving misidentification of mushrooms? In cases like this, proving intent is crucial. The defense will argue that the deaths were accidental. The prosecution, however, will point to the photos and the evidence of preparation and lying to authorities to show intent to harm. This case is still ongoing, with Erin Patterson's defense continuing to argue her innocence. However, the role of forensic toxicology in determining the cause of death is clear. It helps answer the fundamental question, what happened, and how did the poison get into the victim's systems? Whether intentional or accidental, this case serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of wild mushrooms and the critical importance of proper identification and food safety. Thank you for joining us in today's deep dive into the toxicology behind this shocking case. Remember, the work of forensic toxicologists is often the final piece of the puzzle in criminal investigations, helping us understand how poisons work and uncovering the truth. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.